Please take your seats. My name is Charles Golden, and in my role as Vice Provost for Graduate Affairs and Professor of Anthropology here at Brandeis, I have the distinct honor to serve as today's announcer for this graduate commencement ceremony. Expanded program information, including graduates' names and prizes, is available online. A link and QR code are inside your printed program and can be visited directly at brandeis.edu/commencement/program. Please welcome the Grand Marshal for the ceremony, Professor Stephen Cicchetti. Please welcome the distinguished faculty of Brandeis University. I have the privilege to present the degree candidates from the School of Arts, Humanities, and Culture, the School of Business and Economics, the School of Science, Engineering, and Technology, the School of Social Sciences and Social Policy, and the Rabb School of Continuing Studies. Please welcome representatives from the Board of Fellows, honored guests, speakers, and the President's Party. These commencement exercises will be in order. Please rise as you are able for the invocation by Brandeis University Muslim chaplain Aaron Haroon Spivak, and remain standing to join Madison Buchanan, a graduate from the class of 2026, in singing the national anthem. Lyrics to the anthem are available online.
Bismillah. This is an invocation so I invoke in the name of the divine. This is a day of celebration, so I commence with thanks and praise. This is a graduation, so I step forward with peace and blessings. So let me invoke the words from the Psalms of David that frame our endeavors here. Behold, you desired that truth be in the hidden places, and in the innermost part you teach me wisdom. We read in the Gospels that Jesus said that the wise person is one who built his house on the rock. We read that that house did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. We read about the prophet David in the Quran, and Allah gave him dominion and wisdom. The prophet Muhammad is reported to have described wise words as the rightful property of the faithful and the trustworthy. Wisdom has been described as putting everything in its proper place, knowing how to put it all together in the right way, whether in speech and action or action. And if wisdom has been our goal here, if knowing how to build in the right way, on solid foundations, if this is our goal, then since this is an invocation, I invoke the truth and ask that we may be all counted among those who find the truth, whether manifest or hidden. And when we find it in the innermost parts, that we become of those who are taught wisdom. So may we be counted among the people of truth and wisdom. When we philosophize, may we do so with grace. When we earn, may we be counted amongst those who are generous and charitable. When we disagree, may we be of those who manifest peace, justice, and truth. And when we search for truth, may we be of those whom the Quran describes as people of innermost core, who stand in awe of God's creation and see in it signs pointing to truth, wisdom, justice, and peace. So as you stand here today, neither here nor there, no longer student, but not yet holding the degree in hand, in this state of liminality, this state of in-between, this state of becoming, I invite you to acknowledge the joy, acknowledge the anticipation, the nerves, the uncertainty, the confidence, the hopes, the fears, and all the other emotions that circulate in the air this afternoon. And I invite you to turn to the person next to you and say, congratulations. I am excited and hopeful, and I can't wait to see what we become. Congratulations.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight are the ramparts we'd watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. Earlier Earlier this semester, the university celebrated members of the faculty who joined the ranks of Brandeis' retiring and faculty emeriti. Additionally, members of the faculty and several staff members were awarded for their excellence in teaching, mentoring, or service. These awards are listed in the online program. Please congratulate these members of the Brandeis community as you encounter them, and join me now in applause. Lisa Krantz, Brandeis class of 1975, Chair of the Board of Trustees, will offer greetings.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to do that again with more feeling. Good afternoon, everyone. Now we're talking. Now we're ready. As stated, my name is Lisa Krantz. I am a proud member of the Brandeis class of 1975. I also have the honor of being chair of the Brandeis Board of Trustees. On behalf of our board, I am delighted to welcome you all to Brandeis University's 75th commencement ceremony, celebrating the incredible class of 2026, which is right in front of me and in front of you all. To the students, you made it. You did it. As of this afternoon, you will have completed your graduate education. To your wonderful parents and families, you can exhale. Bask in the glory of your students' accomplishments, and yes, celebrate this milestone in your life journey as well. Congratulations. The graduate class of 2026, I don't think I have to tell you, started at Brandeis just as we were coming out of the pandemic. Prior to coming to Brandeis, you experienced life behind masks, 6 feet apart from one another. But during your time at Brandeis, you spent countless hours together with one another in the library, in the classroom, in the residence halls, and standing in line waiting for your coffee at Einstein's. I think a lot of people can relate. You've forged friendships that will last you a lifetime. You've discovered new passions, learned new skills, and hopefully found a personal mission to pursue for the rest of your life. A special time indeed. Something else special about today is that this is, in fact, the 75th commencement of Brandeis University. Yeah, that deserves an applause. Nobody was sure that your predecessors, the first graduating class, the class of 1952, would even get to graduation. In those early years, Brandeis was an experiment, a university founded by the Jewish community's proud gift to higher education in America today, a university rooted in the values that we all carry with us every day. A commitment to excellence, a place that would be open to all people of all backgrounds, and an institution dedicated to research, learning, and pursuing truth. And even as our logo says, truth unto its innermost parts. As you all surely know, an experiment's just that. It has no guarantee of working out the way you want it to. But the great Brandeis experiment, much like your years here, has proven to be successful. And speaking of 75 years ago, on that warm June graduation day, First Lady, UN Ambassador, Brandeis teacher, and Brandeis honorary degree recipient, Eleanor Roosevelt, one of my faves too, told graduates, and I'm quoting Mrs. Roosevelt, "One of the things that made this country great was that we were ready to adventure, to try new things of the mind and of the Spirit. You came into a world that is not an easy world to live in. You will find many things that are not what you hoped they would be. It does no good to try to place the blame or to feel badly about this unless you are determined that you are yourselves going to do better than what has been done before. Have the courage to be free. Believe me, it takes courage. It is often easier to accept the offer of security than to adventure. People who achieve things are rarely secure. Adventure is always more interesting. Close quote from Mrs. Roosevelt. Mrs. Roosevelt's words couldn't be truer today. You are all about to take one of the next big steps in your lives, whether that is starting a career, pursuing school beyond graduate school, or something else. Don't be afraid of the adventure. Take risks, make big bets, try new things. Today's world is a tough place. I don't need to tell you that. A lot is changing. There are many challenges to overcome at home and abroad. Have the courage to pick the adventure, to decide to throw caution to the wind and do the thing that is risky, but will make our world a better place. Eleanor Roosevelt's closing advice to the first graduates in 1952 at Brandeis is the same as mine is to you today. Quote, "You say you will not set the world on fire. Perhaps not, but how does any one of you know that it may not be exactly he who does set at least your corner of the world on fire? For nobody knows who it may turn out to be who affects the change that counts. So go forth, and I wish you to be the change that counts, be it in your family, in your community, in your state, in your country, or in the world. And by all means, it starts with this sincere congratulations from the Brandeis Board of Trustees to the class of 2026.
The president of Brandeis University, Arthur Levine, will offer remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Congratulations to the class of 2026, masters and doctoral. I had planned to offer a very warm welcome to all of you, but apparently that's not going to be necessary. We've provided it in all sorts of ways before I spoke. Earning a graduate degree is generally a team activity involving an assortment of people: parents, relatives, spouses, partners, children, friends, professors, and staff. Let's give all of those people a big round of applause. For some of you, the journey has been swift. A year, 2 years. For others, it's taken somewhat longer and required patience, support, and sacrifice from partners, children, and parents. I thank you for your perseverance and the commitment all of you have made. Now I'm going to ask a favor from all of you today. This is not a solemn occasion. We're really celebrating today. What I'm going to suggest is that when your graduate comes up, scream, applaud, show how much it matters. And for children, give your dad or mom or friend or relatives a great big hug. Now, many of you wrote dissertations or theses, and I want to assure you as president, I read them all from cover to cover. I even recited my favorite parts to my grandchildren over the telephone. They're 7, 5, and 3. And what I'm going to do today is recite my favorite portions from each. Look, commencements are bittersweet occasions. For graduates and their families, they're times of joy, justified pride, celebrations of joint accomplishment. They're also times of contemplation. Hard decisions need to be made about the future. There are also times of doubt when colleagues and friends part, move in different directions, and for some of us, an unknown future awaits. Now, there are also occasions for presidents like me in which we say too much about too little for too long. I plan to be merciful today. 2-3 hours and I'm out of here. I plan to speak to you for only a few minutes, but I promise it'll seem much, much longer. Okay. I want to talk to you today. This speech is for the graduates. I want to talk about your hopes. I want to talk about your fears. I want to talk about your promise. I want to talk about what happens tomorrow morning. Many of our nations are being transformed from national analog industrial economies to global digital knowledge economies. We're living through a period of profound, swift, unceasing, accelerated, and unprecedented economic, demographic, technological, global, and now political change. We're all experiencing a kaleidoscopic array of changes. So this afternoon, we've come together not only to applaud your achievements, which are extraordinary, but also to celebrate the fact that you now have the skills, the knowledge, and the values to make this world a better place. It's reassuring to know, for me, for my grandchildren who so enjoyed your theses, that the world is in your hands. I can't think of a better group to take that responsibility. Now, I'm going to wish you 3 blessings to fulfill this promise. The first is hope. And I'm not talking about Pollyanna-ish kind of hope or rosy-eyed hope, but the hope necessary to live every day of your lives and hold tight to your dreams. So I do a lot of research on college students, and a few years ago, I met a student at another campus. And I asked her, "What are you majoring in?" And she said, "Business." That's okay. "How do you like it?" And she said, "I hate it." Proof that she didn't go to Brandeis' business school. Okay. I asked, "What would you rather study?" And she said, "Dance." And I said, "Why don't you study dance?" And she looked at me with pity in her eyes, talked to me like she talked to a young, dumb brother, and said, "Money is nice, poor is not nice, I want nice." Then she walked away. That day I didn't have an answer. Later I realized she could have done all kinds of things in dance. Even if she couldn't be a dancer, she could have managed a dance troupe. She could have been a dance critic. She could have made dance equipment, and so much more. And what I want to tell you today, your dreams are too precious to give away for a bag of beans. The second thing that I'm going to wish you is responsibility. You're the most fortunate people in the world. With good fortune comes responsibility. You owe something to others. So I was reading about a Manhattan Project scientist, and he said he felt as much guilt for having developed the atomic bomb as a tin can maker should feel when a can is thrown through a window. Whether that scientist was right or wrong, he took no responsibility for his act. I can't think of a student that higher education failed more than that scientist. I wish you all the ability to look at yourself in the mirror every day for the rest of your lives and be proud of what you see. My third wish for you is efficacy. So I got invited to talk at this college. What they had done was they'd taken all the students they were preparing for the big-time graduate fellowships internationally. And they asked me to talk to the group about leadership. So maybe there were 30 people in the room. And I'm busy talking about leadership. I noticed people were counting the light bulbs. A lot of people were on their phones. So I said, very perspicaciously, you know, I don't think this is going very well. And they acknowledged how that was true. And I said, why do you think? We traded hypotheses about what was wrong. And one guy in the room got up and said, look, this leadership stuff is, I can't say that here. He said, bunk. We couldn't make a difference if we wanted to. So I believe this to be a teachable moment. I'm an academic. What I wanted most at that moment was to humiliate the student. So I asked, how many of you believe that? And all but 3 hands went up. The fact of the matter is, every one of you is going to make a difference. Fact is also, every one of you won't get to be president of the country. And that's good for you, and that's good for us. But each of you are going to touch dozens of lives in far more fundamental ways. In colleagues, family, friends, neighbors. For ill or for good, you're going to make a difference in every one of those lives. Our commencement speaker, Isabel Wilkerson, embodies efficacy. She broke ceilings that barred others. She reported on inequity in path-breaking fashion with best-selling, prize-winning books. I wish you all to find your life's purpose and work and the kind of commitment and devotion to it that you deserve and it deserves. So if you've decided on a career in teaching and research, don't do it for the prestige. Don't do it for the lifestyle. Tomorrow requires scholars and educators and researchers committed to discovering truth in a time in which it's being trampled upon, and telling the world about the truths you discover, regardless of the obstacles you face. You can make a difference. If you're going into the professions, business, social policy, psychology, the arts, health, don't do it for the money, particularly if you're going into the arts. Tomorrow is going to require leaders and followers who care deeply about our shared agenda together. I'm going to ask you to embrace Horace Mann's admonition, be ashamed to die before winning some victory for humanity, you can make a difference. I don't care if you want to be the butcher, the baker, or the candlestick maker. You can make a difference. Making a difference is your birthright. Don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't give it away. Tomorrow morning is going to require hope, responsibility, and a sense of efficacy. I'm begging you, please, please, be the people who'll make that commitment, because no one else can. Thank you. Congratulations.
The Chair of the Board of Trustees will present the candidates for honorary degrees to the Provost and the President of the University.
President Levine and Provost Fierke, by the enactment of Chapter 123 of the Acts of 1951, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts authorized Brandeis University to confer honorary degrees. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I have the privilege to instruct you to confer the following honorary degrees upon these persons for their singular achievements.
Raphael Reif, accompanied by Professor Ben Rogers.
Raphael Reif, during your distinguished career at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, you led its transformation from a premier American university into one of the world's most engaged, entrepreneurial, and accessible institutions of knowledge. Under your leadership, the institution has prepared a generation of creative thinkers to address society's most urgent challenges through high-impact innovation. Notably, as you championed breakthroughs in engineering and technology, you also insisted that the social, economic, and environmental justice remain central to teaching and discovery. The son of Jewish immigrants, you fostered a deep sense of community and belonging on campus. In confronting complex issues such as academic freedom and mental health, you modeled courage, accountability, and clarity. Amid recent challenges in higher education, you forcefully affirmed the essential role of universities in advancing the nation's security, prosperity, and scientific leadership. In recognition of your extraordinary contributions to education and research, and of the values you share with our institution, academic excellence, inclusivity, and a commitment to improving the world, Brandeis University proudly bestows upon you its highest honor, Doctor of Engineering, honoris causa.
Shai Reshef, accompanied by Professor Ziva Hassenfeld.
Thank you. Shai Reshef, a visionary, a pioneer, and a creative disruptor. You believe that education is a fundamental right. You also recognize that access to higher education remains uneven around the world. In response, you have applied your entrepreneurial spirit, technological expertise, and business acumen to create an online university open to anyone, anywhere, and at almost no cost. Since founding the University of the People, you have improved life prospects for tens of thousands, from women living under oppressive regimes to displaced refugees and talented students in countries where classroom seats are limited. Through your bold leadership, you have proven that earning an in-demand credential can transform the lives of families, communities, and nations. By breaking down global barriers to higher education, you embody the enduring principles on which our university was founded: openness, accessibility, and inclusivity, as well as service to the world. In recognition of your inspired contributions to higher education, Brandeis University is proud to present you with its highest honor, Doctor of Humane Letters, Honoris Causa.
Isabel Wilkerson, accompanied by Professor Faith Smith.
Great. Isabel Wilkerson, your meticulously researched works of narrative nonfiction, informed by your groundbreaking journalism, acts as a powerful mirror for all humanity. At the New York Times, you broke barriers as the first Black woman to win a Pulitzer Prize in journalism, taking an empathetic, unflinching look at the human condition. Your writing helps us understand ourselves, our relationships to others, and the little discussed political and social structures that undermine equality and human rights in America. The Warmth of Other Suns and Caste have graced many bestseller lists and won many significant awards. But their greatest achievement is persuading readers to consider, in a deeply personal way, the disparities that have characterized the United States from its inception. Through your books, we see ourselves in people who, at first glance, seem to lead very different lives from our own. We identify with their aspirations and private struggles. We also painfully think about the ways we turn a blind eye to those who still contend with brutality and injustice today. We celebrate your important contributions and your ability to communicate complex historical, sociological, and psychological truths by telling stories that change hearts and minds. We bestow upon you Brandeis University's highest honor, Doctor of Humane Letters, Honoris Causa.
Isabel Wilkerson, Doctor of Humane Letters, will now deliver the commencement address.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, President Levine. Thank you so much to Chairwoman Krantz. Thank you to the Board of Trustees and to everyone who made this day possible. Congratulations to every parent, partner, grandparent, step-parent, foster parent, godparent, aunt, uncle, sibling, child, neighbor, and loved one. I think I got everybody. Congratulations to my fellow honorands, and congratulations to every member of the faculty and staff gathered here to cheer on the graduates this afternoon, and most importantly, congratulations to the class of 2026. I am thrilled to be standing here with you today. I congratulate every single one of you on your magnificent achievement. Here and now, let us honor what you have sacrificed to reach this day. You've focused on the long term. You chose depth over speed. You chose to mine the fields of your devotion, to unlock mysteries of understanding of the seen and unseen world, the challenges of humanity itself. It took you years and years in a social way station to complete your mission. At a certain point, you may have been uncertain, too far to give up, but not yet able to see the finish line. You've persevered nonetheless. I am a kindred spirit. I stand before you as proof that devotion to a single endeavor is worth it. I stand before you only because I, too, spent many years in the wilderness on one single thing. My first book took me 15 years to complete. I often say that if it were a human being, it'd be in high school and dating. That is how long it took me to finish that book. I had set out to tell the story of the largest migration within the borders of our country, the outpouring of 6 million African Americans defecting the Jim Crow South. It was a world, hard to believe, it was a world in which it was against the law for a black person and a white person merely to play checkers in Birmingham. You could go to jail if you were caught playing checkers with a person of a different race. It was a world in which, in courtrooms throughout the South, there was actually a black Bible and an altogether separate white Bible to swear to tell the truth on. The same sacred object could not be touched by hands of different races. The very word of God was segregated in the Jim Crow South. Those 6 million souls were proxies for someone in all of our backgrounds, the ancestors who crossed the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Rio Grande. They showed that no migration is about migration. Migration is about freedom and how far people are willing to go to achieve it. This was the only time in American history that American citizens had to flee the land of their birth just to be recognized as the citizens that they had always been. No other group of Americans had to act like immigrants in order to be recognized as citizens. So this was not a move. This was a defection, a seeking of political asylum within the borders of our own country. These and other things are what I discovered and the conclusions that I drew in the years that I devoted to the book. You and I have learned that anything worth doing requires continuous dedication and diligence, as your achievements so beautifully prove. And so it is with our country, which took 250 years to get to the existential crossroads we now face. And so it is with democracy, which requires not just the fanfare and thunder of quadrennial elections, but the daily watering of citizenship, the routine reinforcement and the language and habits of freedom. In recent years, people have often been heard to say something along the lines of, "This is not my country," or "I don't recognize my country. This is not what America stands for." And whenever I hear that, I'm reminded that not enough of us have had the chance to know our country's true and full history. Because if we knew our country's true and full history, we would know that our country is like a patient with a pre-existing condition, like heart disease. And if a patient who has heart disease has a heart attack, you might be alarmed, you might be devastated, you might be moved to action. In fact, one would hope you'd be moved to action, but you would not be surprised if a patient with heart disease without intervention had a heart attack. It is time for us to stop being surprised. People who have not known our country's true history, or who may have chosen not to think about the true origins of our country's current divisions, have now been forced to confront their illusions. Illusions that the smartest man who ever lived sought to defy and to expose. It was exactly 80 years ago, in May of 1946, that Albert Einstein delivered a commencement address at Lincoln University, a historically black college in Pennsylvania. At that stage of his life, he was no longer doing commencements, but he made a rare exception that time because of his deep commitment to racial justice, something that had not been known by many people before then. He had arrived in the United States by steamship in December 1932 as the Nazis bore down on his homeland of Germany. The month after Einstein left, Hitler was appointed chancellor. In America, Einstein was astonished to discover that he had landed in yet another entrenched hierarchy of human value, one with a different scapegoat group and different methods, but with embedded hatreds that echoed the one he had left. He settled into a professorship in Princeton, New Jersey, where he saw firsthand that Black residents were consigned to the worst parts of town, to segregated movie houses, to the lowliest positions, and where people who looked like him regarded them with disdain and entitlement. One evening, a renowned opera singer named Marian Anderson, a contralto who happened to be African American, delivered a recital to an overflow crowd and to rapturous praise in the press of her, what they quote, complete mastery of a magnificent voice, unquote. But the town's hotel, the Nassau Inn, refused to rent a room to her for the night. Hearing of this, Einstein stepped in and invited her to stay at his family's home when no others would. From then on, she would stay at the Einsteins whenever she was in town, even after Princeton hotels began accepting African Americans. They would remain friends for the rest of their days. Here was one of the most brilliant men who ever lived, refusing to see himself as superior to people that he was being told were beneath them. He looked across the divide, and he used his privilege to lift up those who had been consigned to the bottom of the caste system in which he found himself. A caste system being the arbitrary ranking of human value in a society. It's the one that was established by the early colonists when they took random physical characteristics that should have no meaning other than the beautiful physical range of physical manifestation in our species. And they used that to assign people to a value to determine who could be slave or free, who would have rights or no rights, not even over their own bodies, who could own property, and who could be property. It was a hierarchy passed down through the generations and calcified into the ruptures that we see today. Quote from Einstein, "The worst disease," he wrote in 1946, "is the treatment of the Negro," unquote. Einstein, quote, "could hardly believe that a reasonable man can cling so tenaciously to such prejudice," he said. He worked passionately in defense of his ideals. He co-chaired a committee to end lynching. He joined and worked with the NAACP. He lent his fame to the cause of civil rights. W.E.B. Du Bois said of him, quote, "He hates race prejudice," Du Bois said, "because as a Jew, he knows what it is," unquote. During that visit to Lincoln University 80 years ago, he taught his theory of relativity to physics students, and he delivered his commencement address in which he declared, quote, "The separation of the races is not a disease of the colored people," he said, "but a disease of the white people. I do not intend to be quiet about it," unquote. As with Einstein, now is not the time to sit back and be quiet. We are called to harness our individual strengths in every way that we can. Here we are in a world of uncertainty, still confronting the divisions that Einstein lamented. We may have thought that our freedoms were etched in granite and settled for all time. History tells us otherwise. We have seen that history is not a straight line of inevitability. History is a pendulum whose swings of progression require constant monitoring and vigilance, and whose advancements require continual protection. The question is, what do each of us do when we as individuals enter the erratic timeline of history? What do we choose to do with the power that we individually and collectively have to make this a better world for ourselves and for those who come after us? What will history say that we did when faced with the tests of our age? I am sure that many of us might secretly wish that our lives had intersected with another timeline. Why did our trajectories have to collide with all that we're seeing in the country and in the world? Why did all of this have to happen on our watch? Why now, and why us? I would suggest that there is a reason why the things that we are witnessing are happening in our exact time on this planet. Because we are the ones who are made for this moment. We are not in the situation that we're facing because we cannot handle it. We're in the situation that we're facing precisely because we can. For some reason that only the universe knows, we are exactly where we are supposed to be in the flow of human existence. Each of us must rouse ourselves from the intoxication of denial, from the slippage of inattention, from the lethargy of defeatism over one's seeming powerlessness, and realize that there is no savior. The savior is all of us. It will be up to each of us to figure out what we each uniquely can bring to this moment when the planet and the species need us most. To use our circles of influence and our spheres of expertise, which you have now so beautifully proven to have, to protect the freedoms that we may have taken for granted. Every day we are being asked, who are we as Americans and what kind of country do we want to be? We have learned that democracy is not just a form of government. It is a mindset, a belief system, a way of being and interacting with our fellow citizens. We have learned that democracy means protecting the rights of the least of us to protect the freedoms of all of us. Let us find courage in the knowledge that every single one of us in this gathering, every single one of us on this planet is here because the ancestors of all of us found a way to somehow survive war, famine, drought, depression, upheavals of every kind imaginable. Not one of us would be here if they had not found a way to survive. Every single one of us is the product of every single decision that every ancestor throughout our lineage ever made. We each have been given a code of instructions for survival deep in our marrow. How can we harness the wisdom of the ancestors to survive and to transcend humanity's current upheavals? Many people feel bereft and are looking for a leader. But the lesson of the Great Migration of the 6 million souls who fled the Jim Crow South is that there was no leader. No one sounded the day or the hour. It was a leaderless revolution, and nothing in this world could stop it. It is a testament to the power of human will, to the transformation that is possible when enough people of one mind act upon their intuition. These were the people with the least material resources of any group in America, but one person added to another person, added to another person, multiplied by millions, were able to do what a president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, was not able to do. By their actions, they were able to do what the Emancipation Proclamation was not able to do. By their actions, they were able to do what the powers that be, North and South, could not or would not do. They freed themselves, and in doing so, they freed the country of the scourge of Jim Crow. They turned a people captive in the South into a people spread out across the country for the first time since its founding. That means that each of us have more power than we may have allowed ourselves to believe. If people who had absolutely nothing could do what they did in their era, imagine what people could do in ours. So as we face the uncertainties of our age, I would like to leave you with the words of Richard Wright, who wrote these words as he remembered the hope and the heartache of making a great leap of faith into the unknown when he fled the Jim Crow South during the Great Migration. He wrote these words as a whisper, as a prayer to those of us alive today to find the courage to act upon our ideals, to imagine a world that we cannot now see, but have faith that is possible if we are willing to work for it. And he said, I was leaving the South to fling myself into the unknown. I was taking a part of the South to transplant in alien soil, to see if it could grow differently, if it could drink of new and cool rains, bend in strange winds, respond to the warmth of other suns, and perhaps, just perhaps, to bloom. May you bloom in both darkness and in light, and may God bless you, the class of 2026, as you go forth to a world that awaits you. Congratulations to you all.
The Chair of the Board of Trustees will now present the candidates for the several degrees to the President of the University.
President Levine, I have the honor to inform you that in accordance with your recommendation and that of the faculty of the university, the Board of Trustees, by virtue of the right granted by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, has voted to authorize you to admit these scholars to the several degrees in arts and sciences.
Will Professor Shantanu Jadhav and Dean Susan Biren please come forward?
going to let you guys have the mic.
Thank you. President Levine, I have the honor of presenting to you, with the recommendation from the faculty and Board of Trustees, the degree of Master of Science in Neuroscience to be awarded in memoriam to Connor Johnson. May his memory be a blessing. Will Elizabeth Johnson and Anita Di Stefano please join me at the podium to receive the diploma?
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer the degree of Master of Science to Connor Johnson with great reverence for his love of science, the life he lived, the many contributions he made to our community and to the world and to the future that lays ahead.
Degree candidates will now be presented for the conferral of degrees en masse. Following the conferrals, the student address will be delivered and graduates will be welcomed to the Alumni Association. Graduates will then be presented individually to be recognized and congratulated as they cross the stage. Will Dean Harleen Singh please come forward? And will the degree candidates of the School of Arts, Humanities, and Culture please rise as they are able?
President Levine, I have the honor of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, Master of Arts, and Master of Fine Arts.
They look pretty good to me. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Brandeis University, I confer the aforementioned degrees with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
School of Arts, Humanities, and Culture degree recipients, please be seated. Will Dean Linda Bowie please come forward, and will the candidates from the School of Business and Economics please rise as you are able?
President Levine, I have the honor of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, Masters of Arts, Masters of Business Administration, Masters of Science, and Masters of Science and Finance.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Brandeis University, I confer the aforementioned degrees with all of the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Will the School of Business and Economics degree recipients please be seated? Will Dean Susan Beeren please come forward, and will the candidates from the School of Science, Engineering, and Technology please rise as they are able?
President Levine, I have the honor of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, Master of Arts, and Master of Sciences.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Brandeis University, I enthusiastically confer the aforementioned degrees with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Will the School of Science, Engineering, and Technology graduates please be seated? Will Dean Sarah Shostak please come forward, and will the degree candidates of the School of Social Sciences and Social Policy please rise as you are able?
I'm going to give you all a chance to cheer. Are you ready? President Levine, I have the honor of serving as the dean of an extraordinary and very large school. I am deeply proud of our students who I know will go on to use their skills, their values, and their love to make the world a better place. So on behalf of, get ready to cheer, the Hornstein Program in Jewish Professional Leadership, the Education and Teacher Leadership Program, the Departments of Anthropology, History, Politics, Sociology, and Women and Gender and Sexuality Studies, and the Heller School for Social Policy and Management. I have the honor of presenting to you the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Master of Arts, Master of Business Administration, Master of Education, Master of Public Policy, and Master of Science.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Brandeis University, and because you're so loud and I'm afraid not to, I confer the aforementioned degrees enthusiastically upon you with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations to you all.
Will the School of Social Sciences and Social Policy graduates please be seated? Will Vice President Carmen Aguilar please come forward, and will the degree candidates from the RAB School please rise as you are able?
President Levine, I have the honor to present to you the graduate candidates from the online master's degree of science, project management, strategic analytics, digital marketing, bioinformatics, project management, and software engineering, user design as well.
Well, that clause appears not to be here, so I apologize. I can't do it for it. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Brandeis University, I confer the aforementioned degrees with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities pertaining thereto to an extraordinary group of people. Congratulations.
Rab School graduates, please be seated. Jin Zhao, Doctor of Philosophy and Computer Science from the School of Science, Engineering, and Technology, will now deliver the graduate student address.
Good afternoon, President Levine, Board of Trustees, faculty and staff, family and friends, and my fellow graduates. My name is Jin Zhao. Today, I'm very proud to receive my PhD in computer science from Brandeis University. Woo! And I'm also very honored to address you today at this very important event. I grew up moving between different places and different languages. At home, my family spoke one language. In the neighborhoods we lived in, people spoke another. At school, I learned yet another way of speaking. Growing up this way, I realized something early on. Language is never just language. It comes with perception and human bias. I remember standing by my parents in a small shop, listening as they spoke in the language that felt most natural to them. The people treated us differently because of the way they spoke. The tone in the room shifted, voice grew louder or slower, patience thinned, as if volume or speed could replace comprehension. At times, it felt as though their accents were dismissed as difficult, even though they are among the most hardworking, thoughtful, and intelligent people I knew. I didn't have the words for it then. Thank you. I didn't have the words for it then, but I felt the shift very, very clearly. I was learning long before I could explain it, that language shapes who is believed, who is trusted, and who is seen. Looking back, I realized what I was witnessing was my first encounter with framing, the same phenomenon I would later study computationally at Brandeis. Here, I finally found the vocabulary for that intuition, the idea that language doesn't simply reflect reality, it helps to construct it. The language we speak and the words we choose act like a lens. They highlight certain truths while pushing others into the backgrounds. Two people can look at the same event, the same technology, or the same crisis, and walk away with entirely different understandings, not because one is less intelligent, but because they are looking through different lenses. The realization followed me into the lab. When I started studying AI and natural language processing at Brandeis, I understood that my work wasn't just about computer code. It was about those same encounters, moments when the understanding broke down from my childhood. Because it taught me to negotiate meaning despite discrimination, stereotypes, and lack of truth. It taught me that we needed to develop ways to help others to listen better. In natural language processing, we teach large language models to recognize the pragmatic layer of language, the implied meanings, assumptions, and frames, both positive and negative, that go beyond the literal words. Working with AI has taught me to see these systems not as replacements for human judgments, but as mirrors of human perspectives. They reflect our language back at us, they reflect our values back at us, and they reflect our blind spots back at us, only now at a massive scale. This is how we learn, and this is how the systems we develop show us ways to improve ourselves. We see this everywhere. One headline might describe a protest as a call for justice, Another labels the same event as a threat to public order. When an AI system summarizes the news, it makes similar choices. Is this a clash or a crackdown? A defense or a provocation? The facts may be identical, but the frame dictates empathy. It shapes who we side with and who we overlook. And it shows us how to decide what to really think. Brandeis was founded on the ideals of inclusion, truth, and justice. But what Brandeis has truly taught me is that understanding doesn't begin with agreement. It begins with curiosity. Here, we learned to ask the harder questions. Whose perspective does this language center? Whose voice is missing? What history is being misrepresented or erased by the words we choose? For those of us who are graduating today, whether we're building the next generation of algorithms or navigating a world shaped by them, the question is no longer whether technology will influence how we understand the world. It already does. The question is whether we will take the responsibility for the frames we create, share, and reinforce, and whether we will use these tools to expand understanding rather than to narrow it, to include rather than to exclude, to listen rather than to label. This is our responsibility. Brandeis has taught us that intellectual rigor and empathy must go hand in hand. Critical thinking isn't about winning an argument. It's about listening so carefully that we're willing to revise our own assumptions. As we step into a world that feels increasingly interconnected and increasingly fractured, we will encounter people who speak differently, who think differently, and frame reality in ways that challenge us. Some of those frames will come from other people. Some will come from the algorithms we design, deploy, or normalize. The next time you scroll through a feed, read a headline, or interact with an AI system, I hope you pause and consider these questions. Ask yourself not only, is this true, but also, how is this shaping the way I see others? When I think back standing in that shop with my parents as a child, I realize now that the silence they met with was a failure of listening and a failure of imagination. They weren't being heard because their listener has already decided how to see them. Class of 2026, my hope for us is that we carry forward the Brandeis way, the courage to ask the hard questions, the humility to listen across differences, and the commitment to recognize the humanity behind every accent. Because when we learn to truly hear one another across different backgrounds, cultures, and algorithms, language is no longer a barrier, it becomes a bridge. Every accent carries history. Every language carries the story of people. And just as we train large language models to preserve context, I've learned not to erase mine, but to be proud of it. Congratulations to the class of 2026. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The president of the Brandeis University Alumni Association, Amy Cohen, class of 1985, will now provide remarks.
That's a tough act to follow, so I'll be brief. Good afternoon and congratulations to the class of 2026. It is an honor as president of the Brandeis Alumni Association to officially welcome you into the alumni community. For those of you I have not yet met, My name is Amy Cohen, as you heard, and I'm a proud member of the class of 1985. Today marks an extraordinary milestone. It is the culmination of years of study, research, and growth. But while your time as graduate students may be concluding, your Brandeis journey is far from over. From this day forward, you are and will always be a Brandeis alum. You are now part of a global network of over 70,000 Brandeis alumni, spanning disciplines, generations, and continents. With your graduation, this network becomes even stronger and even more inspiring. One of the greatest gifts Brandeis gives us, besides a first-class education, is the people, your professors, your mentors, your peers, and cohorts. The colleagues you've studied with, collaborated with, and relied on throughout your graduate journey often become your lifelong friends and professional allies. Nurture these relationships. They can continue to be one of the most meaningful parts of your time here. And remember, beyond your immediate network, you are now part of a much larger Brandeis alumni family. Whether you're starting a new career, facing a challenge, or continuing your academic pursuits, you are not alone. Alumni across the globe, both graduate alumni and undergraduate alumni, are here to support you. You'll be surprised how often you run into a Brandeis alum at conferences, in your workplace, at networking events, or even while traveling. Say hello. That small gesture could spark a meaningful conversation, a new friendship, or an unexpected opportunity. So how do you stay involved? Easy. Stay connected. Sign up for an alumni identity or interest group. Help us start a professional interest group in your field. Keep your contact information current. It's very important. Let us know when you move or start a new job. Attend alumni events to reconnect and grow your networks. Give back when you can. Recommend Brandeis to future students. Help a fellow alum when asked for help, and ask for help when you need it. Help us build even a stronger and more supportive alumni community. And build on the Brandeis legacy, a legacy that includes the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff Lurie, who received his PhD at Brandeis in 1987. Award-winning Broadway film and TV actress Loretta Devine, who received her MFA here in 1976. Pioneer breast cancer researcher Sheila Efron Tabe, who received her BA in 1963. And now you are forever a part of our legacy. Class of 2026, you've worked hard and achieved something extraordinary. As you begin your next chapter, carry Brandeis with you in your values, your relationships, and your aspirations. Welcome to the Brandeis alumni family, and once again, congratulations.
The recipients of the several degrees conferred in this ceremony are invited to the stage in recognition of their degrees. Each school will be called, and graduates will cross the stage by school and by degree, and will then return to their seats for the remainder of the ceremony. We ask that the audience also remain seated as they can until instructed otherwise. In recognition of their significant achievements and contributions of new knowledge to the world, the recipients of the Doctor of Philosophy will receive their doctoral hoods during the presentation of graduates. Following the presentation of graduates, the audience is invited to stand as you are able to join in singing the Brandeis Alma Mater and remain standing for the benediction. Will Dean Harleen Singh please come forward to join President Levine and Provost Fierke for the presentation of the graduates from the School of Arts, Humanities, and Culture.
Tamar Sarah Eisenberg. Yu-Tung Cheng. Mina Cho. Ying Ting Lin. Ali Tan Puskultu. Daniel Jared Shapiro. Antares Brown. Seth Addison Iceland. Thomas Castillo Fleming. Connor Arthur Gustafson.
Katie, Sarah Hood. Hold it. Yep.
Dylan Needleman.
Will Dean Linda Bowie please come forward for the presentation of graduates from the School of Business and Economics?
Mah Ebrahimi. Shi Young Huang. Fiona Grace Doran. Miles Julian Fox Kemper. Brigid Lai. Giuliano Malpasi. Wimbai Mugai. Sejal Punia. Preston Ryder Schiller. Aiden Michael Schlier. Samuel Meyer Slovin. Binta Sabu Tunkara. Aijun Xie. Min Rui Hung Zhang. Jashuan Tian. Yisaki Alamu Asfal. Chanyan Piao. Leon Waldemar Bester Jr. Jabe Hatarai. Ella Kathleen Coffin. Ryan Cassix Coles. Jocelyn Cruz Marroquin. Aniruddha Avinash Dharmadikari. Nat Thane Dean. Amanda Ariela dos Santos. Agbesi Kobla Gadzi. Ethan Matthias Gelman. Angela Kasande. Irina Kordunian. Itai Levin. Pavlo Litvin. Nikita Urveshi Amber Mangaru. Tamer Masudin. Jason David Nunez. Sanket Rameshbhai Patel. Jabir Kaderi. Rupali Rastogi. Ulka Sela. Hardik Shukla. Catherine Irene Vermeulen. Polly Wang. Samuel Kwaku Quincy Aduse. Josephine Boampong. Walter Check. Kate Dow. Dong Xuan Ho. Malcolm Shu. Hanu Prakash Imani. Samia Islam. Javin Kohli. Jonathan Paul Krupp. Payal Kumari. Fu Chuan Lian. Xinyu Christina Lin. Sayasha Louis Tell. Mason William Marathias. Irena Mascezerano. Jacob Michael Maurer. Tenzin Chunzin Mensang. Prerna Sanjay Mistry. Sugam Nilpane. Trang Tien Win. Anuk Palakarthi. Harper Lun Pham. Yash Puri. Ricardo Rossi. Yuming Rowan. Winston Felix Waka. Luochi Fred Wang. Puja Yadav. Chi Yu. Chunyang Lee. Yilin Xie. Dennis Abdul Adam. Stephen Agawu. Siddharth Agarwal. Matin Aziz. Sanab Barkad. Hagai Benjamin. Elijah Benson. Ayrton Richard Bernoulli Linsbauer. Norberto Carmona. Aditi Gudal. Isha Dilip Jain. Tershik Jain. Samweg Kandel. Rangjith Ravichandran. E. Chun Lee. Param Nirav Maniar. Yesha Tushar Mehta. Gargi Narorkar. Igor Peretiatko. Aditya Rao. Raviv Sapir. Tushita Shrestha. Harshit Kumar Singh. Kailing Tang. Urusha Thapa. Juan Fernando Verdasco. Anmol Varani. Joseph Valkyrie. Alexandra Wang. Zixuan Zhou. Xing Yuan Zheng.
Will Dean Susan Beeran please come forward for the presentation of graduates from the School of Science, Engineering, and Technology?
Emma McGurk Bain. Valerie Leah Betak. Jiahua Chen. Che Yol Chun. Thomas Patrick Cottle. Adam Michael DaCosta. Nida Farheen. Jack William Garbus. Josh Harrison. Zachary Daniel Knotts. Tong Lin. Subhadra Satish Mokashe. Chester Palin Michael. Anjali Pandey. Joshua Bernard Perlmutter. Zachary James Pransky. Yone Kalervo Saleva. Catherine M. Seavey. Melissa Rose Seaman. Hunter Arik Seaforth. Anne Marie Silvera. Brandon Singh. Narain Sundararajan. Jing Xuan Tu. Bingyang Ye. Dakang Jiang. Jin Zhao. Zhengyang Zhou. Ma'anil Kumar. Lee J. Barati. Luapwa Benjamin. Joshua Renaud Bernardin. Tristan Delaney Boyer. Chelsea Braithwaite. Lindsay Michaela Brann. Molly Elizabeth Concannon. Anton Davidenko. Benjamin Brandt Deach. Elena Delicado Dominguez. Kayla Di Benedetto. Carolyn Haley Dolfini. Erica Gelman. Quinlan P. Gervasio. Aaron William Gold. Angela Christine Gorey. Shell Ho. Julia Hoffman. Kieran Holmes. John Robert Hooley. Dashel Isaac Janicki. Akantia Kanal. Destiny Cluck. Raya Kojagil. Jason Than Le. Travis Litke. Emma Zaiwei Liu. Troy David Martinez. Sayaka Minegishi. Diego Morandi Zerpa. Henry Tan Hu Win. Jade LaRose Oaks. Paras Pandey. Danny Richitsky. Shay Kathleen Regan. Katarina Ann Reich. Liam Francis Rittenberg. Jerem Saunders. Vedanshi Chetan Shah. William Carl Sorger. Tall Spector. Galileo Abraham Steinberg. Cameron Peter Stevens. Emily Zabo. Minjia Tang. Mariana Zafiro Tsolias. Zara Erica Watkinson. Paul Carlson Weir II. Peter Jeffrey Williams. Kaiyan Shu. Jumana Akowad. Nathan Andrews Subramanian.
Will Dean Sarah Shostak please come forward for the presentation of graduates from the School of Social Sciences and Social Policy?
Ophelia Delali Emenehe Akotu. Medha Asthana. Aaron Drew Camp. Kim Craig. Qing Huang. Emily Megan Lettingham. Joey Lowe. Tozo Elaine Martin. Janelle Ridley. Daniel Joseph Ruggles. Kumba Senar. Marcia Stein. Deborah Catherine Cohen-Strad. Alexandra M. Sabot. Nathaniel Alfred Howlett Walker. Spencer Lawrence Lewis. Junaid Ahmed. Ajua Adobea Owusu. Herbert Adu Giamfi.
Solomon Afriye Akoto Bamfo.
Proskovia Atiang. Nino Baramia. Zoe Bronstein. Rosina Chimquita. Murray Dawson. Pem Dem. Rebecca Duke Wiesenberg. Isra El Tawil. Joseph Anthony Ghetto. William Hamushin. Ariana Khalees Jackson. Eun Suk Jang. Gracious Kaja. Hamal Ikram Kashani. Almaz Kasimbekov. Ebenezer Kwapong. Owen Luke Madaus. Ivory Anamazik. Callie Eileen McKenzie. Solomon Mensa. Charlie Tilney Wickersham Mestrich. Sian Dagny Stephanie Michaels. Abigail Lee Mullins, Cliveland Mwanji, Adriana Maria Neira Kaamano, Hero Nkubito, Ifeyinwa Emily Nwobi, Eric Wonanuo Osman, Nazira Osmonova, Gonen Reamer, Bipasha Roy, Miranda Jane Sapphire, Miranmoy Samatter, Samantha Schnall, Essence Unique Smith, Stanley Sengaga, Dava Ajargal Sukbatar, Rachel May Nien Monuswe, Michael Ilya Taishido, Daniel Chiawi, Muhammad Umar, Nicole Elizabeth Van Meter, Fabiola Vega Prosper, Shweta Vyas, Shaoya Young, Tal Bande, Yonatan Ayov, Samuel Martin Powers, Elaine Sultana Berger, Vicky Lynn Ross, Brandon Michael Souza, Haley Rose Talbert, Valerie Madeleine Verhus Toskin, William Warren Walthall IV, Mackendy Henry Alsay, Kirane Dejane Belvin, Jennifer Flanagan, Jonathan Edai Khan, Chloe Isabel Morales, Annika Mila Negus Miors, Adriana Maria Paz Diaz, Carnuela Petitfrère, Cassidy Rivera Keefe, Nicholas W. Schiavo, Natan Tayachu. Emmanuel Nidal Abesha. Chukwuemeka Abraham Agbarakwe. Uwingabire Blandine. Bereket Alamaya Huchaka. Kayitare Adolphe Siusa. Pacifique Dusabeyazu. Richmond Warlano Jamesi. Isaiah Kaunda Zimbiri. Stella T.L. Flom. Sosina Haile. Sitra Mesfin Hussein. Justine Imanishimwe Kirizi. Eunice Ingabire. Aminata Jaite. Amos Miisa Makalele. Evelina Augustino Manziku. Bekri Delil Mohammad. Tarini Mohan. Innocent Mukangahe. Rutherford Njanji. Mercy Chidinma Okpara. Emma Grace Ortman. Angela Pandey. Charmaine Tendai Piri. Lydia Asa Equia Randall. Mariam Rehan. Sanjeev Kumar Sahani. Susan Sambo. Emmanuel Mamo Chegaye.
Kennedy Masato.
Sumina Suwal.
Will Vice President Carmen Aguilar please come forward for the presentation of graduates from the Rabb School of Continuing Studies?
Syed Usman Ali. Alex Bakdanyan. Harry Bertera. Jeffrey Bo Reinhold Callan. Daniel Patrick Cook. Jacob Dodd. Annalise Fitzsimmons. Sabrina Ann Gale. Joshua Glowala. Jacob Grush. Emily Howard. Sean Hughes. Melanie L. Ivy. Saimanessa Juluru. Sarah Deanna Lanier. Matthew J. Marshall. Sarah Ray Marshall. Emmanuel Minnow. Auri M. Morales. Nicole Helena J. Navacero. Jasmine Padilla. Pamela Pareja Garcia. Andrea Carol Quattrali. Samantha Ray Renusch. Grant Eric Sawyer. Ilda Sardani. Joseph Sweeney. Ryan Kenneth Thomas. Terry Jun Totsi. Angela Kristen Tribune. Mina Chu von Hoenigen Huna. George P. Yegyayan.
Andrew Caruso.
Kesterlyn Wilson. Jenna Barricklow. Mirza Lopez.
Will the members of the audience please rise as you are able and stay standing through the benediction? Please join Brandeis vocal instructor Kristen Watson in singing the Brandeis alma mater, the words to which are available online.
To thee, alma mater, will always be true. All hail to thy standard, the white and the blue, proclaiming thy future, recalling thy past. Our hopes spring from memories eternally cast. With sorrow we'll leave thee, new worlds to create. May deeds from thy children make thee forever great. May deeds from thy children make thee forever great.
Following the benediction, the graduates and their guests are requested to please stay seated and not enter the aisles until after the academic recessional has exited the arena. Chaplain and coordinator of Christian Life, Carl LeClaire, will pronounce the benediction.
Is anyone warm? Just checking. We come together today to recognize the dedication and discipline of you graduate students. Your hard work and focus have allowed you to expand your minds and challenge old ways of thinking. It has helped you to grow academically and into a deeper sense of yourself. With a deep curiosity, you have come to experience the diversity of our vibrant campus and discern your voice and place in shaping our community. As you students set out into the next chapter of your lives, may you always be anchored in knowing how much your voice matters and that the impact you will have on the world is just beginning. As you make ready to move beyond these very challenging steep hills of campus, may you hold dear the friendships you've made along the way. May the sanctity of those bonds continue to hold you and lift you in the challenges yet ahead. And most of all, cling to the joy in knowing you will always have a place to call home in the sacredness of your Brandeis memories. Congratulations.
Please be seated and remain in your seats until the academic procession has exited the arena floor and staff have indicated that you may exit. The graduate ceremony has now concluded. I declare the 2026 commencement exercises closed. Congratulations.
They just may run away from you. I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Been waiting on this for a while now, paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world. I've tried to cut these corners, tried to take the easy way. I kept on falling short of something. I could have gave up then, but then again I couldn't have, 'cause I've traveled all this way for something. I take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Been waiting on this for a while now, paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh? Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, eh?